Folks, it's noon. We're going to go ahead and get going. I just want to welcome all of you to the September 19th, 2023 City of Cheyenne City Council Public Services Committee meeting. If that's where you're supposed to be, you're in the right place. If not, I don't know what to tell you. So just a few housekeeping items. If you have a phone or anything, any devices, please either shut them off or mute them if you would while you're here. If you plan on coming up to the podium and speaking about an item today, make sure you identify who you are and light up the microphone if you would for the record. Folks who are online, please mute yourselves when you're not speaking, again, just out of courtesy. And any public comment that is entertained today does need to be related to one of the items on our agenda. As you can tell, we have a lot of things on our agenda, and a couple of our committee members have limited schedules today. So we're going to do our best to allow you all an opportunity to speak, but also try to expedite this meeting so we can take care of everyone's schedules. With that, Madam Clerk, item number 12, please.
Item number 12, ordinance third reading, amending section 15.08.031, building permit fees exceptions for incentivization program of the chapter 15.08 International Building Code, adopted of Title 15 Buildings and Construction of the Code of the City of Cheyenne, Wyoming, to create incentives for attainable housing and historic preservation.
Mr. Olson, go ahead.
Chair, through you to the Public Service Committee. Staff just says that there's no changes to this and staff stands for questions.
Well, you didn't have to hurry that much, but no, but we do appreciate that, especially if there weren't any changes. Any questions for Mr. Olson from the committee? Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Laybourne. Microphone, please.
Thank you. Yes, under B, number C here. Be a contributing historic structure in a historic district and submit a building permit application which only proposes changes consistent with maintaining historic integrity. What is your understanding of those changes consistent with maintaining historic integrity? That might be a lot of different things in those historic districts.
Chair, through you to Councilman Laybourne. So we would cross-reference this with the National Park Standards. So that is the standards that are used in any historic preservation commission. So we'd cross-reference it with that. So ideally, for example, if you're replacing the windows that are historic with ones that might be 8/8 with ones that are 6/6. So those retain the historic character of the neighborhood, but it doesn't drastically alter it.
It doesn't what?
Drastically alter the historic character. So it might change the appearance a little from 8/8, which is 8 panes over 8 panes, to 6/6, which is 6 panes over 6 panes. That would be acceptable, but if you're replacing it with a vinyl window that is seen in a lot of new construction, then that would not be, because that would drastically alter the historic character of the.
Well, members of the committee, this is a big step that I think we need to pay attention to when, as we just went through the demolition by neglect ordinance, those 1,300 contributing structures would then, as I understand what I just heard, come under those federal standards, just as is utilized in some historic public buildings, but this would be making it mandatory in these buildings. Is that just to get the break on the building permit, or does it cover more than that?
Chair, through you to Councilman Laybourne, this would just be for the reimbursement from the building permit. So if someone has a contributing structure and they want to replace it with a vinyl window that would not retain the historic character, then they would not be able to apply for this reimbursement. But this does not pertain any more restrictions on properties. So it would be benefit to the property owner if they want to retain the historic character, but it does not force them to retain the historic character of their home.
But they would have to meet those standards if they wanted the break on the permit.
Chair, through you to Councilman Leaborn, that is correct.
Thank you.
Further questions from the committee for Mr. Olson? Thanks, Lonnie. Further public comment from here in the room. Again, we are on the first item number 12. Do we have any raised hands? Seeing and hearing none, no public comment, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Moved by Rennie, seconded by Seagrave. Any further questions or comments from the committee?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Laybourne.
Well, from what we just heard, this is a significant matter and is something that certainly would be unfairly, in my opinion, administered. Because some people would want to go with the more expensive and more detailed standard, and therefore wouldn't get the break, and other people would enter into this. I think there'd be a lot of confusion when you look at those national park historic standards. So I'm a no on this as long as this is in this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing and hearing no further comments from the committee, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
The recommendation of this ordinance on third reading will be for approval at next Monday's meeting. Item number 13, please.
Number 13, ordinance, second reading, amending the official zoning map of the city of Cheyenne, changing the zoning classification from MUB, mixed use business emphasis, to P, public district for land located at block 1, lot 1, block 1, back 40 subdivision, third filing.
Mr. White.
Chair and members of the committee, Connor White, Planning and Development Department. The zoning map amendment before you is for a parcel just next to the Ice and Event Center. This is going to be the location of the city's gymnastics facility. So this zoning map amendment is to rezone this property to P public, specifically for that use. Much of the area or the surrounding area is MUB and CB. The P public district does or is compatible with those surrounding zones. The designation of this zone for P public does match the future land use map, and it would be the best zone for our proposed use as it is a public and government facility. The Planning Commission did hear this item at their September 5th meeting and does recommend approval of the zoning map amendment. Staff does recommend approval. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. White. Any questions from the committee for Mr. White?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Seagrave.
very briefly, I see that this property is connected by the Paul Smith Way to Lincoln Way. I've not seen any progress on that road. Can you bring us up to date on that, please?
Chair, through you to Councilman Seagrave. Staff is working on trying to figure out what the next steps are going to be for that road. I don't have any exact answers as we are working with the city attorney and within our department to determine whether or not, I guess, if the city is going to be building it or what we're going to be doing about having the developer continue that. I don't have the exact answers. I can forward this on to Director Bloom and we can try to get you some answers on that.
Further questions for staff member, Mr. White? Thank you. We are, oh, go ahead, Dr. Rennie, if you do.
I did have one and
No
it's
problem.
really not. It's more out of curiosity, the at least on our drawing here, the lot line on the north side curves up, dips up. Why do we just not go straight across on this? I mean,
So Chair, through you to Councilman Rennie, So what you're seeing on the drawing is, there's two different things here. Basically the map that has our red line on it it wasn't updated at the time with the new plat that had been approved, for this area. So that's why that doesn't match, but the actual plat, map is on the other side of that drawing. That's how it was platted, because there is a street that goes all the way up. So basically what you are rezoning is the actual lot that has been platted. Yes, it does look different in our kind of vicinity map because the GIS had not been updated at the time.
All right, I'll go ahead and open it up, public comment. Mr. White.
Through
please.
you, Mr. Chairman, Michael White, I have a couple questions. Yesterday, Mr. Sanchez said that the building would be completed in October of 24. So my question is, I realize there's some landowners around there that my feeling should share the cost with the city. In addition to that, we already have a public building out there right now. I guess, leaving it up to staff to why they have to make it a public district zoning on it. But I think it's a little premature to be doing this. The bids haven't even been brought in yet on the new gym building. And I would share that the taxpayer is already going to, with the respect to this council, going to have to pay for that building. And in addition, they will have to incur road construction as well. So just a couple of comments and thank you very much.
Thank you. Further public comment. Again, on item number 13. Do we have any hands raised? Okay, seeing and hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Moved by Dr. Rennie, seconded by Mr. Laybourne. Further questions or comments on this ordinance on second reading from the committee? Okay, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The recommendation on item number 13 is going to be approval at next Monday's city council meeting. Item 14, please.
14, ordinance, second reading, amending the official zoning map of the city of Cheyenne, changing the zoning classification from CB community business to MUB mixed use business. And located on lots 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, block 1, Hitching Post Plaza, third filing.
Mr. Olson.
Chair through, Lonnie Olson, Planning and Development Department. Chair through you, what you are considering is the zone change for the Hitching Post Plaza lots 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, or 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, and 6. There is a substitute for this. This zone change is to take it from community business to mixed use business. That is to allow for smaller setbacks and also the possibility of residential to be built in this. The land to the north is public, or is proposed to be rezoned to public. And there's land surrounding it that is CB and MUB. The planning commission heard this on September 5th and recommended approval, and staff also recommends approval. Staff stands for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Questions from the committee? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'm looking at the two substitutes I have here. One is dated number 22. And the other is sub number 23.
This,
Chair, through you, that's my mistake. So the one for number 23 should be for number, this one, number 14.
Okay,
And the one for number 22 is a substitute map for number 22.
okay. I was just want to make sure we're clear before we.
it's
try to
this
switch.
one.
Thank you.
Further questions from the committee for Mr. Olson? Okay. Do we have a developer's report on this by chance?
Good afternoon, Chairman, committee members, Casey Palma Land Planning Agent for the owner. As staff noted, we do have a substitute map for this. That was primarily because the Board of Public Utilities had some concerns about the proposed lots 7 and 8 and their serviceability that they may require dead end main, which isn't allowed. So the zone change now just pertains to lots 3 through 6 as opposed to 3 through 8 because lots 7 and 8 were struck from the plat application. And we have met with the project engineer has met with the city engineer regarding the drainage pipe easement size. That pipe was originally designed at 36 inches, which would require a 30-foot wide easement, but has been redesigned and will be shown on an engineering plan review set as a smaller size, less than 36, which only requires 25-foot easement. So all staff conditions have been addressed, and that's the reason for the September 12th substitute. Happy to address any questions you might have.
I still, Madam Clerk, have quite a bit of confusion.
I'm sorry, this is my fault. I apologize to
So-
staff and the,
So, Mr. Palmer, I believe what is in front of us
It's
right
my-
now is the ordinance, the zoning change.
Yeah,
I have this, but yet your comments referred to the map,
yeah, I'm sorry. So
which
Chair,
is associated with number 22.
so I was trying to go fast. Chair, through you to the committee. The zone change ordinance pertains to a proposed lots 3 through 8 of Hitching Post Plaza third filing. There's a substitute map for Hitching Post Plaza third filing, which strikes lots 7 and 8. So the ordinance would only pertain to the lots which were being created by this plat, which would be,
So that's this substitute
So-
in my hand.
right, so that's the substitute in your hand. Sorry for the confusion. There is a substitute map for the plat, which is related to this application. Does that help? My apologies.
No, no, you're good. While Mr. Palma is here, do we have any questions for Mr. Palma? Could someone go around and grab Jennifer, please? Okay. Yeah, well, it should be being recorded, so I guess we're probably okay. Thank you, Mr. Palma. Thank you. Well, while we're waiting, do we have any public comment? I don't see any hands raised. We're sort of at a standstill. Okay, well, seeing and hearing no public comment, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
All right, seconded, or excuse me, moved by Seagrave, seconded by Mr. Laybourne.
Mr. Chair. I move
Mr.
to
Seagrave,
substitute dated September 14th, 2023.
okay. And this is for 24. This is the map for 24 or
The-
22.
which is for. This map and the cascading this for the current.
That's awesome.
Look the same.
We'll address it.
A lot of people are talking.
Mr. Chair, I would move to substitute this document. It says September 14th, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded, moved by Seagrave, seconded by Rennie. We are on the proposed substitute. This is the document that we are on. Do we have any comments related to the proposed substitute?
No, I have no hands raised.
No hands raised. Questions, comments from the committee related to the substitute? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved 3-0. Now we're back on the original motion. Any questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The recommendation for item number 14. Ordinance on second reading is approved as amended and will be recommended for approval. Next item, please.
Item number 15, ordinance second reading, amending certain sections of chapter 13.20 wastewater treatment and disposal of Title 13 Public Services of the Municipal Code of the City of Cheyenne, Wyoming regarding wastewater treatment and disposal.
Could we have you please activate your microphone?
Is it on now?
Yes, and please identify yourself. Thank you.
Yes. I'm Nathaniel Koffold, the Cheyenne Board of Public Utilities Industrial Pretreatment Program Coordinator. Good afternoon through you, Mr. Chairman. So what you have presented before you is a update revision to Title 1320 of the Cheyenne City Code. It entails multiple changes, many of which are relatively insignificant that affect grammar, readability, and consistency. But several of which are a little more in depth, and some of the changes here you guys might want to pay attention to reflect an update to our authority to issue enforcement action in the way of punitive termination of water service. We proposed this update to allow us to expand our toolbox for enforcement action, allowing us to pick options that we think are a little better suited to non-compliance in certain avenues. And I'd be happy to take any of your questions.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, questions for staff.
you indicated this was for water service. As I read it, I thought it was only dealing with wastewater. Is it just changing the termination of wastewater service or water and wastewater?
So the update to our authority does include water service, wastewater service, in any way, any method that we would find suitable. Typically, termination of service is carried out with the water tap. I can't imagine a time or place where we would terminate wastewater, though that is reflected in this code.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions for staff? Seeing and hearing none. Thank you. Further public comment? From either here in the room, I noticed we have some other staff. If you gentlemen wanted to chime in as well, certainly. Any further public comment? Do we have any hands raised? We do not, and we don't have any maps or anything with this one. I'm kidding. I am kidding. I am kidding. No, she didn't. I do appreciate you doing that. Thank you. But we're good. All right. Well, thank you. I am sorry. I was just kidding. Okay. With that, the chair would entertain a motion.
Second.
Moved by Laybourne, seconded by Mr. Seagrave. Any further questions or comments from the committee? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, the recommendation will be for approval at next Monday's city council meeting. Item number 21, please.
Number 21, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to sign a final plat for Shining D North at Sweetgrass, a replat of all of Block 15, Lot 1 through 8 inclusive, and open space tract AAA, and all the Lot 1, Block 16 Sweetgrass 7th filing, and a portion of adjacent right-of-ways, City of Cheyenne, Laramie County, Wyoming, located east of Sweetgrass Drive and south of East College Drive.
Mr. White,
Chair, members of the committee, Connor White, Planning and Development Department. The plat before you is a replat of a portion of Sweetgrass 7th filing. This plat looks at adding additional single-family residential along Sirocco Drive, as well as reducing the right-of-way width for Sirocco Drive. The reason for this replat is what is now being considered Lot 9 on this plat was going to be for the school district for, I believe, the elementary school out there at Sweetgrass. School district has looked at a different site within Sweetgrass, which was part of the PUD that was approved by the governing body and was shown in that PUD further to the east. So because the school is no longer going to be developing the site, they are looking to replat it. At this time, they are just doing the 8 single-family lots on the south side of Sirocco Drive, and then only reducing a portion of the right-of-way in that section so that they can do their water loop from Ladue to Sirocco to Sweetgrass. At a later date, there will be another replat of Lot 9. And then also at a later date, more of Sweetgrass 7th filing will be replatted to change the layout of that filing as well and reduce some of the right-of-way widths in this area. Planning Commission did hear this at their September 5th meeting and recommended approval. Staff also recommends approval, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. White. Questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Dr. Rennie.
why the reduction in right of way there? Why is it different if it were going to be a school as opposed to residential?
Chair, through you to Councilman Rennie. So with the school district, when this was planned for the school district at the time, the traffic engineer that we had on staff did require that we had a larger right-of-way width just around the school district's property for just the buses and the amount of traffic that would be going through there. Now that the school district is no longer going to be there, the right-of-way can be reduced down to more of a local width rather than having it at a larger width to hold all the traffic that would come with the use of the school there.
Okay, and thank you. And
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I presume the lot size is similar to all the other lot sizes in the PUD.
Chair, through you to Councilman Rennie, that is correct. All the lot sizes are similar to what is already within Sweetgrass itself.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The chair does have a question for either Mr. White or Mr. Palma, if that's okay. I may have missed something, Mr. White, and you probably addressed this, but there is no longer plans for a school at all, or just in this general area?
Chair, through you, so it's just this general area. The school district is planning to have locations further to the east within Sweetgrass. But there will be planned schools out there.
I figured so, but thank you. Appreciate that. Seeing and hearing no more questions for Mr. White. Mr. Palma, did you have anything you'd like to add as the developer's agent? Okay. Public comment at this time. Now's the time. No hands raised? Okay. All right, the chair would entertain a motion.
To adopt.
Moved by Dr. Rennie, seconded by Mr. Laybourne. Questions or comments from the committee? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right, those opposed, this item will be recommended to be adopted at next Monday's city council meeting. And I believe we do have the map for number 22. Okay,
I hope it's the right one.
I'm sure it is. I just want to make sure that that is for 22. Okay, item number 22. please.
Number 22, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to sign a final plat for R&R at Sweetgrass, a replat of all of lots 1, 2, and 3 and tract T, block 8, Sweetgrass second filing, and a portion of adjacent rights of way, city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, Laramie County. Backwards. Located southeast of the intersection of Sweetgrass Drive and East College Drive.
White.
Chair and members of the committee, Connor White, Planning and Development Department. This is a replat of 3 lots in Sweetgrass second filing. This proposed replat looks at platting 9 commercial lots as well as an additional open space track. This plat also is being done to realign what was at the time Loving Trail, which is now being renamed to Prairie Gold Lane, as Loving Trail will be where Avenue C is currently on the west side of Sweetgrass. So with this plat, it also does add Sirocco Lane through there that connects into Sweetgrass Drive and then creates like I had mentioned, 9 buildable commercial lots for this area. There is a substitute map for this plat. That is for the next item.
No, you're good. No, don't worry about it. We're good. We're good.
So the reason for the substitute at Planning Commission, staff did have a condition on the plat to basically have the right of way width verified for Prairie Gold Lane, and then there was some minor corrections needed for adding the block numbers and then renaming or renumbering the lots. So Planning Commission did hear this and recommended approval with one condition. That condition has been fulfilled, so that's why you have the substitute. So staff does recommend approval of this final plat with no conditions. And I am available for any questions.
Well, we don't have the map to refer, but just based on the testimony while we're waiting, are there any questions from the committee for Mr. White? I'll certainly give you gentlemen the opportunity when we have the maps as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Rennie.
just then while we're killing time, what was this change from? Because it was still, I presume, going to be commercial in that area anyway. Are we doing more lots or fewer or?
Chair through you. So the original plat, it had lot 1, block 1 and lot 1, block 2, which I do have the map up on the screen if anybody wants to take a look. So the 2 lots that are adjacent to Sweetgrass Drive right there at the roundabout, those were the existing ones, and the rest was one large lot. That one large lot was going to be, was planned to be at the time, the conference center. But that all fell through. So Sweetgrass is basically, they're looking at other options for this area rather than a large conference center. And they have some potential businesses looking at the area. So they felt that it would be better to divide this up instead of having it be one large parcel into multiple to allow for more commercial development.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Of course. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We're just finishing up with staff report. Yep. And we have the map. But he did put the map up, so I think we're okay. Did you gentlemen have any further questions or comments for staff member Mr. White? Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Palma, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I do not. The September 6th substitute map addressed all staff comments, and we don't have anything else to add unless you have any questions for me.
Okay. Any questions from the committee for Mr. Palma? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any hands raised? I don't see any. Thank you. Questions or comments, public comment from here in the room? Again, we are on item number 22. Okay, seeing and hearing none. The chair would entertain a motion. Moved by Mr. Laybourne, seconded by Dr. Rennie. Any further questions or comments? And we needed the substitute map, correct? Do we need a motion for that substitute map?
Mr. Chair, that is correct. And I would like to note that the substitute is dated 9/11 or September 11th, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Seagrave, seconded by Dr. Rennie. Again, we are on the proposed substitute map, and I believe this is the same one that you just posted. Questions or comments from the public, any public comment regarding the proposed substitute map? Okay. Questions or comments from the committee? All right. All those in favor? Those opposed? All right, the substitute passes, the amendment passes back on the original motion. Questions or comments from the committee? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The recommendation for next Monday's meeting will be for adoption of this resolution as amended. And next item 23, I believe.
Number 23, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to sign a final plat for Hitching Post Plaza, third filing, a replat of Lot 3, Hitching Post Plaza, second filing, City of Cheyenne, Laramie County, Wyoming, located north of Lincoln Way and west of Paul Smith Way.
I think this is this one, I think. All right, gentlemen, I think you already have this one. Okay. Mr. Olson, thank you.
Lonnie Olson, Planning and Development, Chair through you to the committee. Before you is a replat of Hitching Post of Lot 3, Hitching Post second filing. The substitute proposes creating 6 lots on the Hitching Post. This was a remainder lot. This is also associated with the zone change. This was heard by the planning commission and that was approved with the condition that the easement meets the city engineers. The easement just meets the city engineers requirements. And staff believes that those have been met because the project manager or the project engineer and the city engineer have been in communication. Staff does stand for any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Olson, for that staff report. Mr. Seagrave.
Through you. Mr. Olson, it appears that all the lots except perhaps number 5 have access from Paul Smith Way. I'm just wondering how you access lot 5. Thank you.
Chair through you to Councilman Seagrave, there is a mutual access easement through some of the lots. So there'll be access through that mutual access easement.
Okay.
Mr.
Dr.
Chairman.
Rennie, go ahead.
So the revised map takes care of the concerns in staff comments under number 7. I mean, we had this. You had staff comments 7 through 13 and 7 was the only one that did not comply.
Chair through you. The revised map addresses a comment that was received from the Board of Public Utilities about the sewerability of the 6, 7, and 8. And the proposed the staff recommendation at Planning Commission that has been met through but that does not need to be updated on the revised map.
Okay, so we need to. So, pardon me, on the approval of the data, there will be no conditions that staff requests.
Chair through you to Councilman Rennie, that is correct.
Right, thank you.
And I do not believe there is a developer on this, correct? Or is there? Okay. It's also confusing, guys. I might as well ask you go ahead, Mr. Palm. I apologize if you have any additional comments you want to make.
That's right. Thank you, Chair. We don't have anything to add. We talked about this a little bit at the time of zone change. Available for any questions.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Mr. Palma from the committee? Do we have any hands raised? Thank you, Mr. Palma. Any public comment from here in the room? Again, we're on item number 23.
And we're on the amendment, correct? We don't have that.
We don't have a motion yet.
We're
Okay.
trying to get this meeting over.
I understand. We're doing okay. All right. The chair would entertain a motion.
Second,
Moved by Seagrave, seconded by Rennie. Mr. Seagrave,
Second.
same. Moved by Seagrave, seconded by Rennie. Okay, we are on the substitute map. Again, I'll throw it back out for public comment, but we've talked about it about 3 or 4 different times. Any public comment related to the substitute map? Okay, back to the committee. Any comment related to the substitute map? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor? Okay, the substitute passes, the amendment passes back on the original motion. Questions or comments from the committee? Okay. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item number 23, the recommendation for next Monday's meeting will be for adoption as amended. And item 24, please.
Number 24, resolution expressing the support of the governing body for the designation of the High Plains Arboretum as a state historic site by the Wyoming State Legislature.
Attorney Boster.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Stephanie Boster, Cheyenne City Attorney. You have before you a resolution expressing the support of this organization to designate the High Plains Arboretum as the state historic site by the Wyoming State Legislature. This resolution comes on the heels of a work session that occurred with the City Council and State Parks on August 25th, 2023. The Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources Committee met on August 11th and discussed this matter. Mayor Collins testified in support of them, and they indicated at that meeting that they wanted to make sure that the city of Cheyenne was in support. They're meeting again on October 4th and 5th in Cheyenne, and one of their agenda items is to actually tour this facility and to decide whether or not they want to support this bill. And I'm available for comment or questions.
Thank you, Attorney Boster. Questions or comments from the committee? Is there any further public comment? Do we have any further folks that would like to testify or make comment? I want to make sure you have the opportunity. You've been patient with us today.
Mr. Chairman, Nick Nealon, Deputy Director, Wyoming State Parks. I'm just here to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you. And we really do appreciate your patience. Thank you for being with us today. Any questions for the representative from State Parks? Thank you. Further public comment? Seeing and hearing none in the room, do we have any online? Okay, thank you very much. The chair would entertain a motion. Moved by Rennie, seconded by Laybourne. Further questions or comments from the committee? All right, all those in favor? Those opposed? The recommendation will be for adoption of this resolution at next Monday's City Council meeting. No other agenda items. We are adjourned. Thank you all.